kids.
Kids are good for some things.
That's
right?
what, and it was wonderful.
Something else.
So today they've asked that I say a little something. Chuck has something to say, and Bob does also, as we commemorate her, and we have something we'll be showing to everyone.
Well, I'm the executive director here, and I got to know her through here, of course. And Yola and Mark would hang out in the lobby a lot.
Excuse me. Oops.
Frankly, Yola would translate for me sometimes. But so I got to that. We spoke a couple times, or one time at a breakfast, and Margarita was a big part of that. And she just cared so much for her group and her people that she would hang out like Yola did in the lobby. And I tell the story to all of our groups that there'd be times we'd be sitting in the lobby and we'd see somebody pull into the driveway and sit there and not come in, and then eventually pull out and go out, and they couldn't face coming in to the deal with the things. And the next year they'd come back, and by the third year they'd be leaders. So she had a love for this program, as Seabeck does, and we're honored that she's going to be remembered on our deck with the newest style of rocker. We're trying it out with her, and do you want to unveil it? It's a Hollywood rocker. It says in loving memory of Margarita Suarez, and we think it'll last a lot longer than the wood ones. And we've had Marge and a couple people try it out, and they say it's comfortable. So
John,
it'll be remembered here on the deck.
Oh, nice.
Great.
I wanted to just say something because she had a heavy accent, as anybody who knew her knows. And I used to tell people, I say, I can't understand her. I can't understand her. I'd say, no, you have to go into it with an open mind and just let go of your English and tune into her. I don't know. It's like you have to get a little different mindset to understand her. And it works it used to work every time. She was a very special lady, though.
Okay.
She was a really special
You
lady.
ready?
John,
And I
Oh,
love
good.
the
We got.
accent.
Go ahead.
I'd like to contribute something also.
is it going?
Yeah.
Hold it up for you?
Yes.
I'm Alan. I came to my first Seabeck in 1997, 2 years after my daughter died. And Marguerite was the keynote speaker that morning, that Saturday morning. She didn't know me, I didn't know her. I couldn't barely talk that weekend. And at the end, and I was near the front, because I'm a little hard of hearing, and she and I connected. I'm not sure I knew what she said, but she and I connected. And when she was done, she looked at me and kind of, I went up to her, and my knees were buckled, and that little woman wrapped her arms around me and held me, and I cried like a baby. And I carry that hug with me today.
She was a good hugger.
So thank you, sweetie.
Well, I met Margarita actually in 1987 when she gave a talk, and she tells this amazing story that I want to tell you real quick. I said it at her memorial service. She's, as you know, she loved kids, and she was working back then with families where a child was dying. So here this little boy finally died, and now they're at the funeral, and she's sitting up in front with the family because she became part of the family. And so she's sitting there with a little brother, I'll just make up his name, Timmy, right? And so the funeral is ending, and now the guy up in front goes, and now Timmy is going to give his teddy bear to his brother. So that's the cue for Margarita to get up, and they walk up to the casket, and Margarita picks up little Timmy, and he puts the teddy bear in the casket, and people are crying, you know, and they close the casket. Now the pallbearers are taking it, and as little Timmy is sitting down, he goes, I want my teddy bear back. No, you know, and everyone's freaking out, and the parents, and Margarita goes, okay, I'll take care of it. And so as they're carrying the casket out and they're ready to put it in the hearse, she goes out the other door and she knocks on the window of the hearse driver. And he rolls down the window. He doesn't know who this is, right? And he goes, yeah, and she goes, I'm going with you. And he goes, okay. And so she gets in, and while the hearse is going to the cemetery, she's opening up the casket, getting the teddy bear and giving it back to, you know, the little boy. You know, which is the lesson. When you're going to do something like that, you have 2 teddy bears, right? Right? And I've been telling that story for years, and then about 10 years ago, she came to me and said, you know, I want to take your death class. I go, no, you know everything about this. No, I want to take your class. Okay, I said, but I'm going to tell your story. She said, well, don't tell them it's me. And so I had to do incognito and pretend that I didn't know this woman sitting in my class the whole time. And then the last day I outed her and so on. Okay? Yeah. And everyone, you remember the story I told you? Well, this is the woman who saved this little boy, right? And then the other thing is we were, like I said, we were out to lunch with her significant other, Sandy, her wife. And Sandy was reminding us that because of her accent, sometimes she would get in trouble, right? Yeah. And so she would say things like, she wanted to say the word focus, right, in the middle of one of her talks. But it came out a little different, so it was F-U-K-U-S rather than focus, right? And then the word sheet came out with an I in it, right? And so people were like, you know, don't use those words anymore. So we miss her, we love her. She was such an important part of my life, and let's have a little applause for this wonderful woman.
I think we'll always remember.